Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood. If you're reading this because you think you might be one, my advice is close this book right now. Believe whatever lie your mom or dad told you about your birth and try to lead a normal life. Being a half-blood is dangerous. It's scary. Most of the time it gets you killed in painful, nasty ways. If you're a normal kid, reading this because you think it's fiction, great. Read on. I envy you for being able to believe that none of this ever happened. But if you recognize yourself in these pages, if you feel something stirring inside, stop reading immediately. You might be one of us. And once you know that, it's only a matter of time before they sense it too, and they'll come for you. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Happy World Book Day! I am going to read you a poem. It is from my favourite collection, The Wits and Weddings by Philip Larkin. This poem is called First Sight. Lambs that learn to walk in snow, when their bleating clouds the air, meet a vast and welcome, no, nothing but a sunless glare. Newly stumbling to and fro, all they find outside the fold is a wretched width of cold. As they wait beside the ewe, her fleeces wetly caked, their lives hidden round them waiting too, earth's immeasurable surprise. They could not grasp it if they knew what so soon will wake and grow, utterly unlike the snow. I hope that you enjoyed that poem, and I wish you Happy World Book Day from one of the masked readers.
It was a dreary night of November that I beheld the accomplishments of my toils. With an anxiety that almost amounted to agony, I collected the instruments of life around me, that might infuse a spark of being into the lifeless thing that lay at my feet. It was already 1 in the morning. The rain pattered dismally against the panes, and my candle was nearly burnt out, when, by the glimmer of the half-extinguished light, I saw the dull yellow eye of the creature open. It breathed hard, and a convulsive motion agitated its limbs.
Goldfinger's flat, hard stare didn't flicker. He might not have heard Bond's angry gentleman's outburst. The finely chiselled lips parted. He said, "Mr. Bond, they have a saying in Chicago. Once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, and the third time is enemy action. Miami, Sandwich, and now Geneva. I propose to wring the truth out of you, Mr. Bond." Goldfinger's eyes slid slowly past Bond's head. Oddjob, the pressure room.
Last night I dreamt I went to Mandalay again. It seemed to me I stood by the iron gate leading to the drive, and for a while I could not enter, for the way was barred to me. There was a padlock, a chain on the gate. I called in my dream to the lodge keeper and had no answer, and peering closer through the rusted spokes of the gate, I saw that the lodge was uninhabited. No smoke came from the chimney, and the little lattice windows gaped forlorn. Then, like all dreamers, I was possessed of a sudden supernatural power and passed like a spirit through the barrier before me.
The cliche Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be perhaps his head wasn't quite screwed on right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were on too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small.
Girls would love her. She doesn't take a switch to the children. You hear some things. Betsy got beat something awful at school, so she never wanted the girls to go. I'd be happy to introduce you to her, Mr. Horner. She is a kind woman, and the students seem to love her. I cannot believe she would ever lay a hand on a child. He considered this. It's hard, he said, looking out at the mounting, having to work all this stuff out. I thought I'd just be doing a man's job. My own daddy just brought home the food and put his feet up and let my mama do all the rest. And now I have to be a mother as well as a father. Make all these decisions. Look at those girls, Mr. Horner. They glanced to where the girls, now lying on their stomachs, were examining over something they had just read. Alice smiled. I think you're doing fine.
Today I wanted to share with you one of my favourite verses from the Lord of the Rings, called The Charge of the Rohirrim. And this moment in the book takes place when Theoden and his men are surrounded by enemies on all sides. These are the words used to inspire them to action. Arise, arise, riders of Theoden. Fell deeds awake, fire and slaughter. Spear shall be shaken, shield be splintered. A sword day, a red day, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride to Gondor. Let horse be bridled, horn be sounded. Forth, Erlingas!
It was a bright cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Winston Smith, his chin nuzzled into his breast in an effort to escape the vile wind, slipped quickly through the glass doors of Victory Mansions, though not quickly enough to escape the swirl of gritty dust from entering along with him.
George looked quietly and searchingly at him. I've been mean, ain't I? You don't want me, and just go off in the hills and find a cave. I can go away any time. No, look, I was just fooling Lenny, 'cause I want you to stay with me. Trouble with mine is you always kill him. He paused. Tell you what I'll do, Lenny. First chance I get, I'll give you a pup. Maybe you wouldn't kill it. That'd be better than mice, and you could pet it harder. Lenny avoided the bait. He had sensed his advantage. You don't want me. You only just gotta say so. And I'll go off in those hills right there, right up in those hills, and live by myself. And I won't get no mice stole from me. George said, I want you to stay with me, Lenny. Somebody'd shoot you for a coyote if you was by yourself. No, you stay with me. Your Aunt Clara wouldn't like it if you went off by yourself, even if she is dead.
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here, while these visions did appear, and this weak and idle theme no more yielding, but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend, and as I am an honest puck, if we have an earned look, now to scape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long, else the puck a liar call. So, good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends.
The boy with fair hair lowered himself down the last few feet of rock and began to pick his way towards the lagoon. Though he'd taken off his shirt sweater and trailed it from one hand, his grey shirt stuck to him and his hair was plastered to his forehead. All around him the long scars smashed into the jungle, and it was a bath of heat. He was clambering heavily among the creepers and broken trunks when a bird, a vision of red and yellow, flashed upwards with a witch-like cry, and this cry was echoed by another.
Rosa came to be part of the family as easily as if she were a blood relation. She became the daughter that Delmus had always wished for. They lived in a modest house, rather gloomy and run down because it had not been looked after for many years, but spacious. When his two sons had gone off to war, Marcel Louise suggested Rosa came to live with them. That way she could reduce her costs, work fewer hours, practice the piano whenever she liked, and at the same time help his wife with the household tasks. Although some years younger than her husband, Carme looked older because she went around panting for breath and coughing, whereas he was full of energy. I'll hardly have the strength to teach the militia men to read and write, and when that's no longer absolutely necessary, there'll be nothing for me to do but die, she would sigh.
Aladdin. Once upon a time, there was a poor boy named Aladdin who lived with his mother. One day, a rich stranger came to their house looking for Aladdin. I am a merchant, he told Aladdin's mother. I have come all the way from Arabia. I want to take your boy with me for a little work. But I will pay him so much that you will not be poor any more. Aladdin's mother soon agreed because they really needed the money. However, she did not know that the man who said he was a merchant was actually a magician. The next day, Aladdin packed his things and left with the merchant. They travelled for many, many hours. When the merchant stopped, Aladdin was surprised. It was a lonely spot and there was nothing or no one anywhere.
The fish smelled her now, and the vibrations, erratic and sharp, signalled distress. The fish began to circle close to the surface. Its dorsal fin broke the water, with its tail thrashing back and forth, cut the glassy surface with a hiss. A series of tremors shook its body. For the first time, the woman felt fear, though she did not know why. Adrenaline shot through her trunk and her limbs, generating a tingling heat and urging her to swim faster. She guessed that she was 50 yards from shore. She could see the line of white foam where the waves broke on the beach. She saw the lights in the house, and for a comforting moment she thought someone passed by one of the windows. The fish was about 40 feet away from the woman, off to the side, when it turned suddenly to the left, dropped quietly below the surface, and 2 quick thrusts of its tail was upon her. At first the woman thought she had snagged her leg on a rock or a piece of floating wood. There was no initial pain, only one violent tug on her right leg. She reached out to touch her foot, treading water with her left leg to keep her head up. Feeling in the blackness with her left hand, she could find no foot.
Tim Peake limitless, beyond, savour every moment in space. That was the advice from Helen Sharman as we chatted in Costa Coffee at Heathrow when she landed over Yuri Gagarin's book. I heard similar words from fellow astronauts in the week before launch. Don't forget to look down on Earth whenever you can. Take some time for yourself every day. Be ready for life never to be the same again. Living in space is truly remarkable for so many reasons. Even you strip away the surreal nature of your surroundings, it's hard to beat the basic practicalities. You can phone anyone, but no one can call you. The only emails you receive have been vetted and are highly relevant. Every day is fully planned for you with dedicated time for exercise. An enormous team involving several space agencies around the world is dedicated to making your life on the ISS as easy and efficient as possible, allowing you to focus on work.
The scream tore through the dawn like a laser, bled through toilet paper. Elliot Hooper was the first to respond, and if you could call burbling, "I ain't no birthday right," a response, before he entirely knew where he was or who he even was. Another scream shattered the February morning. Elliot sat up in bed and scratched his head. He caught his reflection in the bedroom mirror, his blonde mop of hair and wayward at the best of times, but this hour, 12-year-old sleepyhead thought he resembled a slightly used toilet brush. His fuzzy brain told him that it was early, too early for school.
"Creature, no!" shouted Harry. Creature's thin arms trembled with the weight of the pan still held aloft. "Perhaps just one more, Master Harry, for luck?" Ron laughed. "We need him conscious, Creature, but if he needs persuading, you can do the honors," said Harry. "Thank you very much, Master," said Creature with a bow, and he retreated a short distance, his great pale eyes still fixed upon Mundungus with loathing. "When you stripped this house of all the valuables you could find," Harry began again, "you took a bunch of stuff from the kitchen cupboard. There was a locket there." Harry's mouth was suddenly dry. He could sense Ron and Hermione's tension, and excitement too. What did you do with it? Why? Asked Mundungus. Is it valuable? You've still got it, cried Hermione. No, he hasn't, said Ron shrewdly. He's wondering whether he should have asked more money for it. More? Said Mundungus. That wouldn't have been difficult. Bleeding gave it away, didn't I? No choice. What do you mean? I was selling in Diagon Alley, and she came up to me and asked if I've got a license for trading in magical artifacts. Bleeding Snoop. She was gonna find me, but she took a fancy to the locket and told me she'd take it and let me off that time, and to think myself lucky. Who was this woman? Asked Harry. I dunno. Some ministry hag. Mundungus considered for a moment, brow wrinkled. Little woman, bow on top of her head. Looked like a toad. Harry dropped his wand.